Center for Disease Control.gov, 2,596,993 people died in 2013. Some of the deaths were of natural causes, car wrecks, self-harm, or other means. But some of the deaths were from terminal illnesses or diseases. 591,000 were from cancer, 614,000 were from heart disease, 147,000 were from chronic respiratory conditions, 133,000 were from strokes, and 93,000 were from Alzheimer's. For some of these people, they suffered a great deal physically and mentally. The physical side of the diseases were painful, but the mental side may have been even more tough, just knowing that you only had a few months to live. Let's say you were a normal, healthy person and you went to the doctor for a checkup. Let's just say the doctor did some blood work and the tests came back and they were abnormal. And the doctor called you and said that they needed to speak to you. You went back into the doctor and they told you you only had 6 months left to live. What would you think? What would it be like? Would it be painful? Were you going to remember who you were? Were you going to be in your right mind? In other words, what was your quality of life going to be like? What if I told you there was another option, that you didn't have to be in physical pain all of the time and you didn't have to die not knowing who you were? There is another option, and I know some people aren't going to agree with this, but it's persuasive speech, so I'm going to attempt to persuade you to agree with me. Death with dignity, some people call it physician-assisted suicide, is another option. It's an end-of-life option that allows eligible individuals to legally obtain medication from their physician in order to assist with their death on their own terms. And it is a peaceful, humane, and dignified manner of dying. There's a lot of qualifications that have to be met and requirements that have to be met for an individual to even be eligible for death with dignity. Some of the requirements vary state to state, but there's actually only 5 states that allow it anyway, but the requirements are different state to state. Some of the basic requirements: people must be terminally ill with 6 months or less to live. You must have the opinion of 2 separate doctors. You have to submit 2 oral requests and 1 medical request. And there's usually a little bit of a waiting period and a few other requirements. The 5 states that it's legal in at the time are Oregon, Washington, Vermont, California, and Montana. The requirements do vary state to state, so if you lived in one of those states and this was something that you were interested in doing, you would have to look up the requirements for that state. The medications that they will give you, there's not really any one specific medication. It could be a combination of medications that they know will work. The cost of the medication is kind of high. I saw up to $25,000, and it's usually just like 8 pills. A common question that is asked by these individuals to their physician is, when should I take the medication? No one can answer that question except for the individual. It's pretty much up to them on when they're ready to go and when they think it's the right time. So with all that being said, I know people don't agree with it because they think that only God has the power to say when you should go. But I think that if you're in your right mind and this is something that you want to do, you should have the choice. Everybody should have their own choice to die on their own terms in a peaceful and dignified way.